Welcome to another Inform 7 tutorial. We have another completely plain vanilla game that, it's a complete world, but it's a boring plain vanilla world where nothing interesting happens. These are all default actions that are kind of hardwired into this plain vanilla default world, and it's our job to create the custom things and events and interactive experiences that we want to happen in this environment. So, I can over here in the code section, I can change this too. And, perhaps your office is, evocative enough in your mind that you can come up with details to make it interesting. But let's personalize this a bit. I'm going to call this, here we go. And we're going to call this shabby office. And I just find typing, it takes too long, so I've got some code here that I've already typed out that I'll just copy and paste. All right, so let's run this. And now I think with just a handful of details that I've added, you kind of get the idea what the environment of this game is going to be like. Now, one of the conventions of interactive fiction is to sort of highlight the exits from the room by giving them a little bit more space. So I'm going to use a formatting trick here. Add a paragraph break so that the only exit leads south is more visible. I could also, kind of in a less programming looking, in a more writerly way, I could actually just do it that way. And that creates the space as well. But, either way is fine. Okay, so now I'm going to add some locations, because if we go to the index and the world, here, the only thing in our world is the shabby office and yourself. We have nothing interesting here other than this description about the neon sign blinking, just creating a little bit of, textual eye candy, shall we call it. But very quickly, let me throw in a couple locations, a handful of locations. And when I rerun this, we go again to index and the world. Now we have a sort of multi-level, multi-room environment. And we have an upper hallway that's south of our starting place, the shabby office. The Swede's cubby is east of the upper hallway. Bliss Alley is below the upper hallway. The Swede's retreat is above the upper hallway. The Hard Knocks lobby is below Bliss Alley. And so the world map keeps track of the starting level, one level up, two levels down. This is south. This is east. So we have this map is, well, it's pretty boring. I mean, we run the game, we look around, and okay, well, I know to go south, and I remember from the map that I can go up in the upper hallway, and down in the upper hallway, and east in the upper hallway, back west, down, and down. So, okay, that's, I've just in, 10 seconds navigated through the entire space that I've created, and it's incredibly boring. So let me, I'm going to, let's start adding some details. Instead of just saying the upper hallway is south of the shabby office, let's at least replace that with a description of other details that we can look at. So let me add a description here. All I'm doing is putting quoted text, a space right after that, and I'm throwing in this quoted text that will give Inform 7 some details to flesh out this world a little bit. The shabby office has an exit to the south. In the upper hallway, I can go back north to my office. East is the janitor's closet. Go back west. I can go up from here, down, and in Bliss Alley, I can go back up to the office or down to the Hard Knocks Lounge. Okay, so we've just created just a little bit of detail, but if I go back here and I start this as an interactive fiction player, I'm going to read about the neon sign across the street blinking through the blinds, and I'm going to want to, but I can't. I'm going to want to So in the room description, I mentioned a couple nouns, but they only exist in this quoted text that tells the player, it's eye candy. All it does is describe for the reader some ambiance. But none of these items mentioned inside these quotation marks, none of those items are able to be interacted with unless we do some things. So this description mentions a neon sign. This command will place a neon sign in the shabby office, and when we run it, now, when I examine the sign, I get some more details. The problem is I've mentioned the neon sign here, but the neon sign is also mentioned in the room description. If I type look, and Inform 7 tells me what I can see in my environment. And I already know from this description that the neon sign is here. So I can hide this extraneous information by making the neon sign scenery. So now I say the neon sign is scenery in the shabby office. I'm going to hit the rerun button, and now we only mention the neon sign once, but I can still interact with it. So that's better. We still don't have the ability to interact with other things such as the street, the blinds, the pattern, and the desk. So let me start creating some more objects. I'm going to sort of dump a bunch of unimportant objects: the view of the street, the blinds, the stark pattern, blinking light, and your desk. And now when I rerun this, at the very least, it recognizes the street exists, even though I'm not really learning anything by interacting with it. But, well, I'm in my office, so how about I start creating some props? So on your desk is a stack of bills. Now when I run the game, we have a desk, and I can take the bills, and I can go south, drop the bills, go back north, and that works pretty nicely. So let me, well, it's kind of boring now. Go back south, here are the bills. If I X for bills, examine the bills, I learn nothing about them. So let me give a little bit of detail about these bills. I'm going to say the description of the bills and add a little bit about that. So now I'll run this. And now when I examine the bills, I've got a reference to Benny the Slug. Okay, so let me now add, I think this would be very appropriate. Let me add okay, I think this is an appropriate prop. A bottle of whiskey for our character. And all right. Now, experienced Inform 7 designers and anybody who plays with the text adventure games, we know it refers to a label. Well, I'm going to want to read the label. If there's a stack of bills, I might want to Okay. Just because the things exist doesn't mean that we can interact with them. I don't know. It's not really appropriate. I don't feel bad not allowing the player to put the bills in the bottle of whiskey. But, you know, this is kind of unfortunate. When I type drink, it tells me I'm trying to drink the stack of bills. If I try to drink the bottle, it claims there's nothing suitable to drink here. Well, Inform is not smart enough to intuit that a thing called bottle of whiskey should react a certain way to the command drink in this kind of a noir detective game. We can teach it, though. Inform 7 does understand the concept drink. And we just need to teach it what to do when the command drink whiskey is typed. So, instead of drinking the whiskey, say you take another swig, but you still remember every detail. So I'll run that, and now that works pretty nicely. But if I just type drink, well, I mean, duh, I want to drink the whiskey. There's nothing else in the room that I should drink. But as far as Inform 7 is believes, maybe we're surrounded by drinkable things. Inform does have a way for us to tell it which actions are likely to go with which objects. And I'm going to do this code. Does the player mean drinking the bottle of whiskey? It is very likely. So in this version, when I type drink, it's confused. It doesn't know what's going to happen. But I'm going to rerun these same commands. And now it will automatically believe that if I type the word drink, that I'm probably going to be talking about the bottle of whiskey. Okay, so that's nice. Now, I've done this before. Street, it doesn't work there. Now, I've mentioned the blinds. If I mention a view, what you can see through the blinds, I'm implying there's a window. But Inform 7 is not smart enough to intuit the presence of a window just because there's slanted light coming through the blinds. So we have to teach Inform 7 that okay, so let's create a window, and now at least a little typo there. There we go. How's that? Okay. Change that typo. Okay. This is boring. We know there's a sign, but a player who, instead of typing examine sign, types look through window, might miss these details. So let's try consolidating a couple things. Inform 7 has a way of guiding itself. We can tell it before doing anything with the view of the street. Now the noun is the neon sign. So if the player tries to interact in a perfectly normal way with the items called view of the street, the blinds, and the stark pattern of blinking light, instead we're going to intercept that command. And now if I examine the stark pattern, it's going to give me the same as if I were to type examine the sign. Well, and now here's a really fine kind of a rabbit hole to go through. It's kind of reasonable to treat window as a physical object. So we can, open window. Well, all right, so there, type of the look through window. Okay, so I mean, these are reasonable reactions, and at least it's not insisting that no window exists. But it's still, I don't know, it's still just kind of boring. I still have this. It still kind of bothers me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, If I examine the window, I should at least see what's on the other side of the window. So I'm going to say, before examining the window, now the noun is the neon sign. So I'm going to run that. And now, even though it refuses to let me open the window, when I examine the window, it at least doesn't just say the boring default action. It tells me, the most interesting thing in the room, which is the light coming in through that window. Okay, so these are all kind of reasonable, but I don't know, given that maybe later in the game the character might want to escape through the window, or look out and see, Buck McGonagall standing under a lamppost carrying a violin case or something like that, I'm going to code a reaction here that at least tells the player that I've got, yes, player, dear player, I notice you're trying to do something with the window, but it's not important right now. I don't know, that's a little boring. What if instead of simply telling me I can't bother with it, maybe I hint that maybe later in the game the window is important? You consider making your exit through the window, but set the thought aside for now. Okay, so I don't know, that's a little hint there. All right, so let's develop the ambiance in this room. I'm going to add the sound of hot jazz. So now when I run the game, it tells me the sound of hot jazz floats up from the street below. Great, examine street. Okay, that's kind of believable. Take sound, I've got the sound. This is silly though. How would I type that properly? Listen to sound. There we go. All right, well, that's kind of disappointing. I shouldn't be able to take sound, and if I type listen to sound, something should happen. So how about this? I'm going to say, instead of listening to the sound of hot jazz, Tiny Louie's horn sounds off tonight. Got it? But now I want to make sure that I can't take the sound, and I've got the sound that I'm carrying it around with me, which is ridiculous. Add a code. Bit of code that tells me. Here we go. Instead of doing anything other than listening to the jazz, say the sound of hot jazz is for listening to. Let's run that. And now when I try to take the sound, it tells me to listen to it. Listen to sound. And I am no longer carrying the sound in this version of the world. Great. Okay. Now what if I were to say, you just told me that it's Tiny Louie's horn, so let's add a little bit of code that allows me to recognize that, understand Tiny or Louie or horn or Louise horn or music, any of these things. These are synonyms for the sound of hot jazz. Let's run that, and why is it unhappy? Gives me an error. Understand. Because I have two ors. Let's delete that or there. Error message. Let's run that again. And what else error do I have? Understand. Tiny. There we go. Okay, so synonyms are good. Okay, we're done with the office for now. Now, in this game, when we leave the office, instead of dumping us right out on the street, it instead dumps us into the upper hallway. And that's really, I'm doing that because I'm pacing the story a little bit. I want to give some more exposition before our character is released to the streets of the city. And instead of just giving a text crawl that explained who you are and, what's just happened to you and what your goal is, let's add in a little detail. Okay. So here we are in the upper hallway. Oh, yes. And if you get lost in your code, I go to Settings. No, I go to Index. and then make sure I'm on world. And I want to go now to the upper hallway. So I click that. That takes me to the upper hallway. And just as with the sound in the office, I'm going to intercept all actions except smelling, so that now when I run this, we will go south and smell. Well, it tells me I smell nothing unexpected, but if I take the whiff, it tells me you'd be better off smelling it instead. So what happens when I smell the perfume? Here's the code that I want to happen. I'll hit rerun. So, well, there it just says I smell nothing unexpected. Take a whiff. Wouldn't take a whiff make sense? Okay. We can play with this a little bit, but I will first of all point out that this is a new thing. If I type actions and I type smell perfume, it tells me the command that I'm doing is smelling the whiff of familiar perfume. And what happens is it prints out this little detail. Lilac and vanilla, she must have lingered here after she stormed out, a little stronger near the janitor's closet. So that's giving you a hint of what you should do next. But if I just type smell, because I'm looking at the actions listing, I can see that the game is trying to smell the hallway rather than smell the whiff of perfume. It's guessing what you are trying to smell, and it presumes the hallway. So I can type actions off if I want to get rid of that. Okay, so now I won't see that bracketed comment. And now I'm honestly a little puzzled about this, but I'm going to go ahead and try this. This worked when we had a similar problem with the command drink. I'm going to say if you're smelling, the perfume is something that the player is very likely to want to smell. When I run that, I smell, it's still, when I type actions, it's still trying to smell the upper hallway. When I type smell perfume, it's fine. Okay, well, there's a parallel action. I said it's very likely to have the player smelling the perfume. There's a parallel action that it's to say that it's very unlikely that the player means smelling the upper hallway. And, you know, this seems logical. It seems like it should work, but it still doesn't. So again, I confess, I don't know why this doesn't work. I tried what worked just fine. You know, the same structure worked just fine for drink, but something else that we can do, and this is a little bit clunkier, less elegant. I'm going to make a little bit of custom code. This is like, you know, duct tape and chicken wire instead of great craftspersonship. But let's run that, and I go south and smell. Here, just typing smell, instead of smelling the upper hallway, Inform 7 will just say, no, you don't want to do that. Smell the familiar perfume instead. Got it. So anyway, so that problem is solved. But if I smell again, she must have lingered here after she stormed out. Well, after the first time, I already know that. I'm not learning anything new by smelling again and coming up with this, you know, Sherlock Holmesian deduction again. So let's, just for storytelling purposes, I'm going to have change this so that I added first time and only, which when we the first time you smell, it gives us this, she must have lingered after she stormed out. The second time it drops it out. The spacing is kind of off there. Let me try to fix this spacing up. Inform 7 is really powerful and amazing, but sometimes the tweaking the details of spacing are, there we go. So I just had the spaces in the wrong place. So now we have what looks like a nice paragraph where the first time you smell, you have this little detail. The second time, it's gone, and there's no extra weird spacing or something like that. So looks very natural. Looks like you're, reading text, which makes sense. Okay, so the game is telling us that the smell is stronger near the janitor's closet. So it would kind of make sense to, I don't know, examine closet. But if we look in the index, here we are in the upper hallway. Yeah, I've implemented a room called the Swede's Cubby, which is east of the upper hallway. But here I am in the room of the upper hallway. There's nothing here for Inform 7 to respond to when I tell it to interact with something called closet. So let's create a closet scenery object, and I'm going to paste, let's go back to the upper hallway. Here we go, down here. So I added these 3 lines of code. First, I'm going to say the janitor's closet is scenery in the upper hallway. Then I'm going to intercept all interactions with the janitor's closet and just say, to do anything in the janitor's closet, you need to go east from there. So no matter what the player tries, they'll get this helpful message that suggests you should really try going east. And then, instead of entering the closet, because somebody might type enter closet, we're just going to intercept that action and try going east instead. So let's parse that. Before we run the game, we'll go back to the index. Now, in the upper hallway, here we have this janitor's closet. It's fixed in place. It's scenery. It's called the janitor's closet. Here we have its location, and let's run it, and let's go south. And that's good. I smell for the first time it mentions the janitor's closet. I examine closet, and it tells me I need to go east from here. So how about I go east? I go east, and now I'm in the Swede's Cubby. Okay, so I think you kind of get the idea. I'm now going to go into the Swede's Cubby, and I'm just going to throw in some details. I'll tell you what I made here. A wastebasket is a container in the Swede's Cubby. Inside the wastebasket is a diamond engagement ring. The description of the diamond engagement ring is, it still reads Moonlight Forever. Oh boy, that would be a good title of a game. So let's run this game. Now I go east and I see a wastebasket in which is a diamond engagement ring. I can take the ring, examine the ring, and, I've kind of given a little bit of exposition so we understand who our character is and what's going on. Okay, so for story purposes, just because I know someone is going to try... Whoops. Wear a ring. But of course you should be able to wear a ring. So I'm going to say the diamond engagement ring is wearable. And I'm going to create code for what happens after you try wearing the diamond engagement ring. And instead of taking it off, it's going to be stuck on your finger so you can't lose it. Also, why would you want to take it off? I think our character probably has difficulty letting go of his past, and that might be a problem that I'll have to deal with for the rest of the story. So south. I don't have to smell the perfume. I can just go east right here. Take the ring. Remove the ring. Okay, so there we go. If I take inventory, it tells me that I'm now carrying the diamond engagement ring. Okay, now now that I'm wearing the ring, I leave and I'm got the perfume. And well, if I've already got the ring, do I still need to smell the perfume? Whoops. Do I still need to smell the perfume and have this discovery? Well, again, for story purposes, how about go back up to, let's see, smelling the whiff of perfume. So here we have a code that happens for the first time only, but let's change this code so that after the player has visited the Swede's cubby. Okay, so here is that first time only. We've got that still. But now, if the Swede's cubby is not visited, we're going to give the hint a little stronger near the janitor's closet. So let's run that. South smell. Well, the spacing is off again. What do we got? Okay, I'm going to forget about the paragraph break. That's messing me up. And the spacing there. Try that again. Okay, looks a little better. We have now we need to janitor's closet. Probably not there. Okay. Try that. Okay. All right. I fixed some spacing problems. Okay, so I smell the second time, and we don't have that, so that's still working great. So that was fine. Let's go to the Swede's closet and go back out. And now, fading fast but not gone yet. So the environment is changing just slightly. Now that I've got the diamond engagement ring, the smell becomes less important. In fact, after we've taken the diamond engagement ring, I want to make that whiff of perfume that was floating around in the room. I'm just going to make it disappear. So here we've, let me go back here. I'll show you. This is what it's like now. We'll go into the, take the ring. I'll go back out. It still tells me about the perfume in the hallway. Now that I've added, where is it? After taking the diamond engagement ring, now the whiff of perfume is scenery. Let's run it. And now, when I go out after I take the ring, we no longer see this reference to the smell. It's still here. Okay? But it's no longer announcing it. Just the clutter is clearing up a little bit. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but after I have take ring, it just blanks. It doesn't do anything. When I change this after taking the diamond engagement ring, now the whiff of perfume is scenery, I kind of intercepted Inform 7's default instructions, which ordinarily would have printed taken. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to change this. This is a single statement. I'm going to change the comma to a colon and add a tab. Change the final period to a semicolon. Enter. And now I'm going to say, oops, say. All right. So now when I run this, now take ring gives the message taken, which we would expect. Okay, so that's just a little formatting detail to keep things handled nicely. Okay, well, if we go down now, I think you know, just another grimy street in this grimy city. Well, you know, you kind of know what's going on here. It refers to next to your sign, there are stairs. And I've mentioned them in the description, but I have to code the objects in order for them to work. So I'm going to try to do this a little efficiently. Here we are in Bliss Alley. And I'm going to paste the grimy city is scenery in Bliss Alley and a little description. Okay? And I'm going to, instead of creating separate objects for all these things that I mention, I'm just going to do the thing where I mention a bunch of synonyms. So I'm going to understand all these different terms as the grimy city. So now, when I run this, Previously, it said you don't expect the street, or you can't see any such thing when you type examine street. Now it says just what you'd expect in a big city full of people fighting to feed their hungry little dreams. Okay, examine sign. You can't see any such thing. I've mentioned that it's standing next to your sign. So let's create your sign. The description of your sign is Frank Rockbottom Private Eye. Great. Let's now mention the stairs, or add a description of the stairs. So now, when we run this, instead of claiming it doesn't notice anything, it now gives me some information about things that I'm mentioning. All right, so that's nice. It's a bit dry. You can go up or down from here. I don't know. What if instead of just saying you can go up or down from here, I mean, what if I took advantage of this opportunity to throw in a little bit of, purple prose? And I wrote, the stairs tumble like your dashed hopes towards the Hard Knocks lounge and rise like the bile in your gut as you contemplate the petty injustices you face. Oh, okay. Yeah, that prose is definitely purple. But the thing is, if a player just wants to, take stairs, and you get, that's hardly portable. I mean, it's not helpful to put in a whole lot of effort into this fun, creative language. If I want to look at the stairs, what am I supposed to do? Well, that's why I really deliberately put the language, instead of all this fancy stuff, I just put you can go up or down from here, so that if a player is interacting with the stairs and kind of doesn't know what to do, they'll instead learn that, oh, what I should do is go up or down. Take stairs is actually a perfectly, legitimate figure of speech, so I'm going to allow it, but I'm going to be more informative. I'm going to add, instead of taking the stairs, try examining the stairs. So when you type take stairs, you'll get you can go up or down from here, and that will give you the hint that you should. Let's try going down. All right, so I'm going to run this now so that it actually implements all these changes that I did. And now we have examine stairs. It says you can go up or down here. Take stairs, instead of it gives a reasonable error message, give me a hint about what I should do. So I'm going to go down. Okay. So, yeah, let's keep it simple. I like keeping the purple prose, if there is any, for plot points. Once you've done something, reward the player. Take a break, take a lap, show off your writing skills. But if the player is frustrated, you should be focusing on giving them hints, so that if they're paying attention to what's on the screen, they will see what they're supposed to do, which is go up or down here rather than take stairs. Okay, so let's now, we've been pretty lonely here in this city of broken dreams. Let's add a suitable character. We're going to add Glad Hand Mick. And he's a person in Bliss Alley, and he's going to eye us suspiciously. So let's run that. The problem is, we just walk right past him. I've given no behavior to Glad Hand Mick. So I'm going to make Glad Hand Mick kind of the bouncer bodyguard type guy, keeping you from going down when you're in Bliss Alley. So it's going to intercept. Here I typed go down. Glad Hand Mick is going to interrupt that interaction and give me this message. And so we'll run that. And instead of ending up in the Hard Knocks lounge, we get, no sir, Mr. Rockbottom, says Mick, blocking your path. Benny says you don't get no more free passes. Okay, well, if I go down again, oops, don't you think Mick should get, I don't know, a little bit more assertive if we are just ignoring him? So let's personalize this message. and one of, and then there are multiple different messages that I guess he doesn't get so much more aggressive, he just gets less communicative. So after the third time, he just keeps, I can type G for again to repeat the previous command, and he'll give the same action. So no pass, no entry. He's giving you a hint about what you need to do. And in a longer game, we'd make this a lot harder, but let's just put a pass in the Swedes' retreat, which is on the roof of this building. And let's go south, go up, go up. Take the pass. Go down. And of course, if I go down here, I get the same message. And so what do? Do I okay. Inform 7 isn't smart enough to know that if you're carrying a thing called a pass and you try to give it to a character named Gladhand Mick, that Gladhand Mick will let you pass. So let's teach Inform 7 that that's exactly what we want to happen. Instead of giving the pass to Gladhand Mick, Mick takes the pass and inspects it. We give a paragraph break. And again, this is a colon with a tab here. This first statement ends with a semicolon, and we have a second thing that happens here. I think I can end with a period there. All right, so let's run this and give pass to Mick. Mick takes the pass, it inspects it, it checks out. If I type inventory, I no longer have the pass. But when I go down, he is still giving me that refusal message. So we have to teach Inform 7, and there are 50 different ways we could do this, but I'm going to introduce the concept of Mick being either defensive or permissive. And we're going to start out with Mick defensive. And here, as soon as you give the pass to Mick, we're going to change Mick, and we're going to say now Mick is permissive. Okay. One more thing we also have to say, we have to, now that we've introduced the concept of Mick being permissive or defensive, we're going to limit this blocking action to, instead of going down in Bliss Alley, when Mick is defensive. And that magically should work. So yeah, we've tried to go down. Mick blocks our path. We give the pass to Mick. He says it checks out. We're no longer carrying it. We go down. He lets us pass. Okay, well, hooray. Now, if you've ever played these kinds of games, however, you will probably run into a situation where, works for me. I know exactly what you're supposed to do. We get the pass. Go down. And, yeah, I already showed you that if I typed give pass to Mick, it would work. But what if instead I show pass to Mick? Well, the default message for Inform 7, it doesn't look like Mick cares. All right, what if I ask Mick about the pass? Mick, will this pass do? If you didn't know exactly that Inform 7 requires you to type give pass to Mick, all these other perfectly reasonable things would make you think this game is stupid and frustrated and boring. Okay, so we can work on this. How about let's work on that show pass option. Instead of showing the familiar pass to Gladhand Mick, say Will wonders never cease, marvels Mick, but you gotta give it to me. And notice I've got a first time only, so that if we run this, I'll go south, I'll go up, get pass, down, down, try to go down, it blocks me. Show pass to Mick. He says you gotta give it to me. Second time he says, but you gotta give it to me. In case the player didn't notice, you know, some gamers just click through the quest text. This person might not have noticed that Mick is giving us a clue. So down still doesn't work. How about now I give pass to... Well, before I give pass to Mick, I also tried earlier ask Mick about the pass and then just... There are a couple other options there. And they don't work currently. Well, let's add a couple options here. Yeah, this is reasonable. Okay, you think any of those things ought to work? Well, let's try. And this is just kind of, you know, magic. I didn't come up with this on my own. I just found it in an example. Yeah, okay. Instead of asking Mick to try doing something with a noun, try showing the noun to Mick. Okay, so now, previously when I typed Mick, take my pass, that makes no sense. Well, I can also... Whoops. Okay. Mick, smell my pass, but you got to give it to me. Okay. So now in Form 7, whenever you try to get Mick to do something, he'll give you the hint, which is you got to give it to me. Hear this, ask Mick about the pass, and Mick, what about this pass? I can also try this. I'm going to try more examples of more interactions with Mick. He will tell you what you need to do is to give me the pass. Here we go. Okay. Asking someone, telling someone, answering someone, asking someone. In Form 7 out of the box treats all of these different instructions completely different. I've now consolidated them. So anytime you in Form 7 tries asking, telling, answering, or asking someone for something, let's just shunt all of them towards speech. And anytime you perform anything that Inform thinks of as speech, we're just going to have Mick, by default, tell you what he wants you to do. And that should work. Okay, so now, see this? Mick, take my pass. Ask Mick about the pass. Mick, what about the pass? I'm just trying to, in as many vectors as possible, tell the player what you need to do is type. Give pass to Mick. He takes it, and now, thank goodness, I can go down. Okay, big finish now. I'm going to add, now that we've created this system where we can kind of grab hold of all these instances when we are trying to talk to Mick in all these different ways, I have just now added some magical code. And these are tabs in here. So if you want to add more to this, you have to add a tab here where, I'll just show you. Yeah, so this is all a line of text here. Let's run this and see what happens. So I think you can see from here, we'll back up to talk to Mick now. If I ask Mick about whiskey, if I ask him about dreams. Okay, So this table really makes Mick a heck of a lot more, engaging, a lot more, lifelike. He still gives you hints, and but anyway, so the system for making people seem somewhat believable. I mean, again, copy and paste this. Each character should get a different table of commentary, and over here are the keywords. And anytime Mick hears any of these keywords, he will say this thing. So I found if you just want people to talk with you and chat and give information, this table is good. If you want to, or this kind of communication is good. If you want something that a character does to change the world, try having them interacting with an object, as in this case, after, instead of giving the pass to Gladhand Mick. There's really no way, there is a way, but it's harder if I were to just ask Mick about the pass. It's harder to get the game to react and sort of make things change in the world. Okay, so I hope that this introduction to Inform 7 gives you a taste of what it's possible to do. And I'll post this online, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll be happy to do what I can to help you develop your own interest and explore Inform 7 and see maybe what kind of interactive fiction stories you'd like to be able to tell.